Look, it's a flood.
It's a flood.
It's flooding.
Get away.
Quick, we need to get to higher ground.
Open the floodgates.
That was the best part of it, said the Hobgoblin. But one day, the looking glass was dropped, and it broke into 1,000,000,000,000,000 more pieces. And now came the greatest misfortune of all.
I don't understand why when people get bored, they decide they want to rap. Like, it was very prevalent on YouTube for the longest time, like when they were out of content, you know, and they couldn't make prank videos and shit anymore, and Vine was slowly dying out. They all started coming up with like fake rap beefs and shit and writing diss tracks to each other, and you heard it. I played it for you. Why? Why do you want to rap, Dwayne? I don't understand it. I don't understand the need at your age and your like peak stardom to want to potentially take all of the social credibility you have by coming off
with a bad verse.
Bad 16, yo. Look,
I mean,
it does a lot to people's brands, yo.
Yo, look at Dipset right now.
You remember like when we were growing up in the 90s?
Yeah.
Cause I'm 31. I'm gonna be 32 next year, right? Like,
yep.
Let's just keep it big. I remember back when rap was fresh,
yep.
Right? Like, people who had no fucking business rapping were all coming out with like these old like fucking
Shaq.
Not Hulk Hogan, nigga. Like,
what?
Do I need to Google it? First of all, Rock, you tried this once before with Wyclef Jean. Don't think we forgot about it. Don't think we forgot about. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I got a pocket full of cheese.
You know what I gotta say to The Rock?
Shut up, bitch.
I would pay money to watch you walk up to The Rock.
Have you never seen that little clip?
Yes, I've seen that clip, but I'm just thinking about you walking up to The Rock, because you all are probably high level, right? Like, you could literally look Dwayne in his eyes. You might even be a little bit taller than Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Be like, shut up, bitch! And then
I have to hold the microphone up like this, though. Shut up, bitch!
To get thrown like a javelin across the fucking field.
Through a table.
Through a fucking Oh my god, that's The Rock's music!
Shout out Jacoby.
Dun-dun-dun. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yo, what did you think of The Rock's verse?
I couldn't hear it because the production was such trash.
Yo, whoever EQ'd that shit, first of all, if you are producing a song for Dwayne The Rock Johnson, who, you know, carelessly posted a video on Instagram, or not a video, a photo on Instagram of how he casually ripped his fence out of the fucking brick post because it was making him late for work, right? Ripped his automatic gate out of the fucking hydraulic hinges because he didn't want to. I wonder if The Rock supports the IATSE.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
Straight. So my whole point here is if you're EQing a song for that dude, right, who could probably like sonic clap your fucking skull into a pancake.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to do a good job? Like, wouldn't you not want to piss that guy off?
I'm pretty sure Tech 9 had that exact mindset, because clearly he wrote that, but he probably was sitting, he was like, alright, Dwayne,
are you insinuating that
Dwayne, sit down. Alright, now I need to go bar by bar. This is how you say it. Just imagine Dwayne in like a school desk that like folds over.
That
and he's
literally
like,
is how he rapped that shit, yo. Like it was bar for bar. Like it was punching after punching after punching. It's like, I mean, but for real though, you couldn't have gotten any more fucking like Eric B and Rakim with that verse, dog. Like it was, wow.
is he ain't no joke?
It doesn't matter.
The refugee camp, and you're about to smell what the rock is cooking.
You don't remember this shit?
Yo, I got 50 Bentleys in the West Indies.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Sharing, people ain't caring. Come up in the hood and they take everything you wearing. Back in the day, it was all about the
Son.
Oh, it wasn't even in tune. You know it's bad when I'm complaining about being in tune for a hip hop song. Come on down, South Time. Friendly faces everywhere. Toes down, South.
You don't even know. Do you think anybody actually knows the lyrics to South Park?
Coming down South Park, gonna leave my friend behind. Everybody day or night, every Sunday, howdy neighbor.
How much more of this are you just gonna continue to make up as you go along?
Coming down to South Park while we rise up.
You shoehorn that one in there.
And crash through.
This is Doc
And Ziggy.
with the Flood.
And Doc, what do?
We make mainstream make sense
By putting culture in context.
into context. I've been pretty busy this week. You know, I got school getting ready to start here on the 20th. I got the baby coming next month. So we're in the house currently. The wifey is in nesting stages. So, you know, my list of chores around the house is continuing to grow exponentially. It seems like every time I finish something, there are 2 more things added to the list, and then I finish 2 things, and 4 more things have been added to the list.
The way you just described it when you were like nesting stage. It reminded me of...
That's a phrase I borrowed from the women.
Immediately thought of the Chimera Ant arc from Hunter x Hunter.
Wow. Well, it is a phrase I borrowed from the women. That is what they often refer to it as when, you know, you get into the later stages of pregnancy. For all my new millennial dads out there, or dads-to-be, when you get into the later stages of pregnancy, and this is my second time around with this trip, you know, the women start to, you know, look in all the nooks and crannies of the house that they used to pile things in, and they want those things gone. And I don't mean just like gone, I mean like out of existence. If there is something wrong with the house, she will find it and demand that it be fixed
Loki style
time, in time for the arrival of the baby. And we have...
For the arrival of the baby?
Not the baby. Oh man, yeah, no, we'll talk about that too, because I watched that new Dave Chappelle The Closer last night, the last of his
I watched it a couple of nights ago.
Netflix series, and it was Dave. It was Dave.
It was Dave.
I'm not gonna, and that's not to say that it was bad, but it was Dave.
It was Dave.
We'll go there a little bit later. You know,
the Zuck got fucked.
I was gonna say the rest of the world had quite a busy week.
The Zuck got fucked. There's the biggest financial release of offshore and secret documents.
Look, Mercury retrograde ain't playing around this time. Zuck lost what, like $7 billion, and I mean he'll be fine, right? Like, let's not pretend like that didn't do anything that maybe potentially make it so he has to spend 2 less weeks on his yacht this summer for vacation. The servers for Facebook were down, which was like what was that, a DDoS attack?
Yeah, and it also hit Instagram and WhatsApp.
Or was it a DNS attack? Because did it take down? It like completely, from what I remember hearing, the actual attack removed like Facebook's name from like the host sites or some wild shit like that. Like the type of attack that it was made it so that Facebook wasn't even accessible through, like, you know how you can sign in to your Facebook on other websites and stuff, like you couldn't even do that. The way that the hackers initiated the attack, I guess particularly of interest, right? Or not of interest, but concerning, right? Because the way they took down Facebook has a lot of implications for a website as big as Facebook, right? Because in taking down Facebook, they also took down Facebook's other subsidiaries,
like WhatsApp and Instagram,
right? So you got that kind of shit. If you've got that kind of power to take down, like, consider, and then take into consideration, like, Facebook is the internet in a lot of lower developed countries, right? Like, you know, with the infrastructure that you remember when, like, Mark Zuckerberg a couple of years ago was like rolling out internet infrastructure in, like I said, lower income and lower developed areas and shit like that, and people found out that that internet infrastructure consisted of Facebook and then like a couple of other things like WhatsApp and shit like that, right? So effectively making it that Facebook was the internet for those people, right? That's kind of what happened in fucking Myanmar and shit, right?
Yeah.
And so that when Facebook goes down in those areas, taking Myanmar into consideration, it might be a good thing, right? But when it goes down in those areas, that is the internet. The internet is just down for a lot of those people, right? So this Facebook thing was a little bit bigger than just a haha, fuck it, suck it.
Oh yeah, no, there's the giant ripple effects of like all the businesses that need Facebook and Instagram and things to.
Oh yeah, I just saw
business
article talking about how it may have been like a BuzzFeed article that was talking about how Instagram shutting down forced a lot of the like Instagram boutique sites and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. People who sell things on Instagram, like the Instagram marketplace, to reconsider putting all their eggs in one basket, i.e. Instagram, right? So now a lot of them...
Philip DeFranco actually said something about this on a recent episode.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he was talking about just like you have to shoot your content out everywhere.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, and Phil would know that specifically because of like the YouTube purge and shit like that, right? Like,
phrasing, by the way. I realized that after I said it. Phrasing.
But yeah, when the whole adpocalypse happened, right, and all of the MLMs and stuff started shutting down on YouTube, and the YouTube gold rush finally came to an end, right? A lot of YouTubers realized that it wasn't just the end of the gold rush. It was like the end of the era of really relying on YouTube as your profit, right? Like, now the rules and regulations to even become monetized on YouTube it's a much higher like ladder to climb before you can start to get monetized on YouTube, which is why we need you guys to subscribe to all of our YouTube channels and our socials at The Flood Pod on everything, and that's on everything.
Everything be alright, everything.
We all knew if I started singing he was gonna.
Yeah, and I couldn't think of the right song with everything in it.
And that's on everything. So,
I have some good news for me. It also will bring me back to a hot take that I had months ago. The Red Hot Chili Peppers have announced a new album and a tour with their original guitar player, John Frusciante.
Ooh. So when does the tour start?
Just to let you know, all of the Chili Pepper songs you know
are
John Frusciante songs.
Okay. So
Under the Bridge downtown. John Frusciante. Californication, by the way. Don't Stop. Day to California, Snow.
I like that you assume that I knew more Red Hot Chili Pepper songs than Californication. I mean, I do, just not by name, right? So you weren't all the way wrong.
I mean, the Chili Peppers are one of my longtime favorite bands.
I mean, they're great, right?
By the way, is one of my Desert Island
He
albums.
says not knowing, like, any of the titles of the Red Hot Chili Pepper songs other than Californication. That's real. That's just me keeping.
Is
it
that
a band
because you
with
know the
guys.
song, or is it because of the TV show?
It's because I know the song.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, no.
It was on MTV all the time.
the fucking time, and VH1 all the fucking time, right? So,
but I'm excited for that, and I think they are coming. They're coming to FedEx Field, wherever the fuck the Washington football team plays.
So, is it the Washington football team? Is
Currently
that the name
still.
that they? So they still are.
They haven't officially announced that they're going to be the Red Wolves.
So, do you think why? What is the logic behind that? Right? Like, why drag it out so long? Do you think
Probably
they're just
so they don't just change it in the middle of the season.
right? Why change it in the middle of the season? Why? That's what I'm wondering. Right? Do you think it's like just legal
I'm shocked they
framework?
didn't have it done by this season.
That's my point, and I'm wondering if they're just being held up by legal framework,
Or if they are just going to keep the Washington football team.
right? That, like I said, right, and go the soccer route.
Yeah.
With it. And
Washington FT.
it's right. Fuck it. Since you guys complained about Redskins so much, we don't get to have a goddamn title anymore.
That would be Dan Snyder.
We are just the Washington Football Club. Fuck it. Fuck it. Because 20 years down the line from now, somebody will get mad and say that Red Wolves is offensive to the furry community or something.
Oh, God damn it. Okay, let's just go on. This day in history, 1 week from today.
Next Saturday night, we're sending you back to the future.
That's what we should have started with. And here we are talking about furries and football.
In 1492, Columbus docks in the Bahamas.
So 1 week from today, the fucking terrorist known as Christopher Columbus introduced smallpox to the island community.
They looked cold.
Wow, that didn't even happen there. But I mean, hey, shout out to imperialism, because
Because in
wouldn't be here without
1813, Napoleon was defeated at Leipzig by Prussia, Russia, and Austria, which was the largest pre-battle in Europe before World War I.
was that like one of Napoleon's first losses?
I'm gonna guess no, because he was getting dealt with by 3 countries.
Okay.
In 1834, much of the Palace of Westminster Parliament of London is burnt down.
Fuck, what is that?
Wasn't
dude?
Guy Fawkes.
No, but it wasn't the dude that turned England against the monarchy?
Thomas.
English Revolution.
Oh, Cromwell. Yes. It's fucking Oliver Cromwell.
In 1834, much of the ancient structure of the Palace of Westminster, Parliament of London, was burnt down.
Was it by Oliver Cromwell?
Apparently.
Was it? No. Oh, for real. No, I was asking if
Oh.
you knew. I guess now, because we figured out that we didn't remember the name, we don't know it was. When did you say it was?
1834.
In 1834. No, because Oliver Cromwell died in 1658.
Moving right along. In 1846, dentist William T. Morton demonstrates the effectiveness of ether.
I want to say they did a dollop about this, right? Like, this is how we figured out, or this is one of the precursors to anesthetic or anesthesia and shit.
1859, on October 10th, John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry.
This is something I can get behind, right? Because, you know, fuck Whitey and all that.
Oh yeah, when I was writing a lot of these down, I was like, Doc will be alright with this one.
If you don't know, John Brown was an abolitionist who, at the time, also actually happened to believe in equal rights for black people because, plot twist, not a lot of abolitionists actually wanted blacks to have equal rights. They just didn't agree with slavery, mostly for, like, profit reasons.
It's true, I don't know why I'm laughing.
John Brown, though, was actually kind of labeled like a terrorist for a lot of the shit that he was doing. I'm not saying I advocate terrorism, but I'm saying if it's against slavery, is it really terrorism?
No.
Right? I mean...
So in 1863, 4 years later, Ulysses S. Grant was given command of the Union forces in the West.
So 4 years after John Brown got on his shit. Damn, I don't like that escalation, right? Because I'm thinking about, like, now, right? And
You want to see escalation? Wait till we get farther in here.
And I'm thinking about, like, the January 6th riots, right? 4 years, that's one presidential term, right? Yeah, I just want to put that image in people's head. You know, just let that sink in and sit on that for a minute.
Alright, so in 1901, Booker T. Washington was invited for dinner at the White House by Teddy and Edith Roosevelt.
Okay, so we're making progress. A lot of people like Teddy Roosevelt, you know. Walk softly, carry big stick, all that shit. You know, Teddy Bear Roosevelt, all that madness.
Marketing wouldn't made him use stick.
Walk softly, carry a big dick.
Yeah.
Is that what it...
It could be. Big dick energy.
Do you really think Teddy Roosevelt was walking around...
I think Teddy Roosevelt had big dick energy.
I'm not gonna comment on how big you think Teddy Roosevelt's dick is. All I know is that we have lots of todays and histories to get through, and you can start a whole nother podcast if you want to write fan fiction about Teddy Roosevelt and his big dick energy.
In 1923, Disney Bros Cartoon Studio was founded.
Damn.
So 98 years ago. Today.
Whew, Disney's almost... I'm surprised Disney isn't already 100 years old because it is very close to owning the world, right? What year did you say?
1923.
1923. So, a whole 63 years after that, Studio Ghibli would be founded, right? And I only bring that up because I'd like to remind people that a lot of what you perceive to be as, like, classic anime art style was borrowed and heavily inspired by classic Disney art style.
Yeah.
I remind people of that not to gloat because fuck Walt Disney and fuck the Disney Corporation, right? It blows my mind, right? To know that, like, because I love anime, right?
Yeah.
And I also love Disney cartoons, but, like, Walt Disney was, like, a trash human being. And the Disney Corporation is slowly monopolizing all of entertainment. But they make great Marvel movies, though.
They do. In 1925, the Texas School Board bans the teaching of evolution.
Damn, yo, it's so wild that you keep bringing all of, like, the things that you keep bringing to today in history are, like, stuff that I have heard about, like, in being spoken about in the zeitgeist and, like, a lot of the podcasts and shit that I've been listening to, right? Like, say that one again?
In 1925, the Texas School Board bans the teaching of evolution.
that is, oh god, what is that case colloquially referred to as? It's like fucking like the monkey something or whatever. Like, god damn it. Alright, that's not important. What's important is the fact that the court system at that time was like pretty heavily conservative, and for them to, I feel like them banning evolution kind of set the precedent for the fundamentalist, like, I guess, ideology that we're still, like, combating today in this country. Right?
Absolutely.
And, like, the way this country goes in waves of dealing with... Because there was also a time in this country after, like, the revival movement in the country that happened, like, shortly around the same time that this court case was going on. There was, like, this huge, like, revival movement happening in the country. This is when we get, like, the foundation of a lot of these Christian fundamentalists and, like, preachers and stuff like this.
Yeah.
Forgive me for not being able to, like, recall names at the moment. But then, like, that shit, like, teeters off, and those people begin to become kind of, like, outliers in society, right? And then, like, around the time of, like, Reagan is when we get, like, the moral majority, which is, like, the pinnacle of them, I guess, organizing their power, right? Like, the Christian fundamentalist movement. And I only bring that up, and I'm only, like, harping on it, because at the moment, that is what we are dealing with, especially when it comes to, like, the QAnon movement, and a lot of those things intersect, I guess, is what I'm saying. You know, things like the Texas abortion ban, which was, you know, overturned by that judge, thankfully.
Yeah.
But it's still up in the air on how long that is actually going to mean anything. 1925 wasn't really that long ago.
It's like 2 generations ago. 3 generations ago.
The fact that we're, like, right back there again, that's kind of all I was trying to draw attention to.
So in 1940, let me get through all of these before you react. So in 1940, Warsaw Ghetto was formed by German Governor General Hans Frank. In 1941, Germany marches to within 60 miles of Moscow. In 1943, Jewish quarter of Rome surrounded by Nazis, and they were all sent to Auschwitz. And in 1946, 10 Nazi leaders hanged as war criminals after the Nuremberg trials.
Now I see what you meant when I said earlier about that happening that escalated pretty quickly. Like, God, that was all in the span of, like, how many years?
6 years.
6 years. 6 years. The amount of, like, damage that was done is still, like, the ripple effects from World War II are still being felt.
We talked about it before, where people were trying to compare slavery and the Holocaust, and we were just like, you literally cannot compare the two. One was extended over so long, and the other one was like a 6-year massacre.
I think Dave Chappelle would argue that you can compare the two. But we will get to that. We feel like it escalated quickly, though, because we often gloss over a lot of the events leading up to World War II, right? Like, if you really think about it, World War II was the culmination of a lot of stalemates and a lot of Cold Wars that were going on. It was gang turf warfare.
We talked about this. Yeah. It was basically turf warfare.
World War II was
fresh after Prussia broke up.
Right. But it was a slow bubble, is what I'm saying. It's like, it was a bunch of, like, small incidences that led up to two huge major events, right? And once again, I bring that up because, you know, here we are sitting in this country right now where we have had lots of small-scale incidences culminating into one attempt at a large-scale event, being the January 6th riots. And, you know, we continue to have, like, mass shootings and culture conflicts throughout the country. And I just want people to be aware, and
All of that happened within 6 years.
6 years. I just want people to be aware and acknowledge the fact that midterms are up next year. Stay vigilant.
So I have two others that are really important. In 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis begins.
In retrospect, how serious do you feel like the Cuban Missile Crisis really was?
The Soviets had missiles in Cuba that could have gotten to Florida within minutes.
But do you really think that they were about that like that?
Yeah, well, they hit Florida.
Do you really think the Soviets, do you think that Fidel Castro was really about that life? Or do you think it was a flex for, like, political collateral? Or for political collateral?
I think it depends on how Khrushchev felt.
Fair enough.
And 1968, Tommy Smith and John Carlos at the Olympics do the Black Power salute at the first and second policeman stands in the Olympics.
And the struggle continues. I mean, look, what else should I say about that shit, right? Yes, it was a very impactful moment, and it is a very iconic moment. Here today, we are still dealing with the heavy police injustice and, you know, and the racial discrimination in the justice system.
That's been going back to 1859, even farther back, when John Brown tried to fight against this shit at Harper's Ferry.
So, putting all of that into perspective, as we roll into some of today's discussions, keep that in mind that, you know, a lot of the change that we feel is foundational to where we are at now in society is not that old. This country isn't.
Nope.
And this shit is not normal. Bye, guys!
Right!
Speaking of spooky movies...
You know what's scarier than spooky movies?
Drones.
Real life!
Oh, well, I mean, that's kind of what I'm talking
Especially in Russia or Florida.
about. Oh, here we go. Here we go, here we go. What you got for me this week, Zig? You got something hot?
Alright,
You gonna
I will
really-
let you know once again. One of these is fake.
Okay. I appreciate the disclosure right up front so that way I'm not, you know, going into this blinded like, you know, some kind of Squid Game or something like that.
Man performs snake swallowing trick
Okay.
and dies from getting bit on the tongue.
Right off the bat. Right off the bat with the fucking absurdity. What kind of backwater bayou bullshit is that?
Are you saying it's Florida?
No, it's Russia.
It is Russia.
Because in Florida, they know good and well by now that unless you were part of that weird, which is mainly like the Tennessee region, right? Like that's like,
I've seen Florida people, they just don't give a shit about reptiles anymore.
well, yeah, but they also, how many of
You
them
saw the
see-
video of the Florida guy putting the gator in the trash can, right?
Yeah, but he wasn't dangling it in front of his fucking mouth, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
Florida people are to reptiles like Russian people are to bears.
So,
Also, are snakes reptiles?
yeah, they are.
Lighthouse.
Man arrested after cat brought onto a plane was found to have drugs inside of it.
Can you read that headline one more time?
Man arrested after cat that he brought onto a plane was found to have drugs inside of it.
Who narked on that cat? I just want to know, like, who the fuck? How do you?
I'm guessing an X-ray.
Was the drug hound? Do they X-ray your animals?
Oh, can you imagine a drug hound sniffing a cat's ass and hoping that goes well?
I would have thought it would have went well, right? Like, I feel like this was a foolproof plan, because if the drug dog sniffs a cat, they're just gonna be like, oh, it's a fucking cat, of course he's gonna sniff it, right? But apparently, Lassie spent a little bit too much time around that cat, and they were like, hey, can we
One fine day with a whistle on a bird.
Can we X-ray your cat?
Cat. I hated that cartoon.
I actually was a big fan of Cat Dog. Not big.
Angry Beavers was my shit.
Angry Beavers was god tier. But yes, how did they find out that the cat had drugs in it?
I don't know.
Damn it, man!
I read some of these, but that was not one that I read.
Next.
Well, you had to guess. You have to guess.
Oh, Florida.
This is Russia.
Damn it! I was gonna say Russia too.
So, man kills fiance and stages body in a supermarket parking lot.
That's really dark.
Yep.
Also, I'm gonna say Florida, because do they have supermarkets in Russia?
It is in fact Florida, and I don't know.
I feel like that's an American thing.
I feel like you can't buy ice at a Russian supermarket.
What?
Because ice is all around there. Ding-ding-ding-ding.
Oh man, I really wish the camera was on so y'all could see my face.
Man killed brother and sister-in-law because his brother administered COVID vaccines.
Read that one more time, please. And this is totally Florida.
This is Florida.
Before I even hear this headline again, this is definitely Florida. Not to say that there aren't COVID deniers in Russia, but
Man kills brother and sister-in-law because his brother administered COVID vaccines.
so not gave him a COVID vaccine, but he found out that his brother was administering COVID vaccines. So he said, I've got to take him out myself.
Yeah. This is some Phoenix Jones shit.
Damn, not Phoenix Jones though.
Because he turned out to afterwards become a pimp, right?
I mean, but that's why I said not Phoenix. Yes, he was a pimp and a drug dealer the whole time. But no, this is some QAnon shit, Joe. What you mean? Like,
Yup.
this is definitely some QAnon shit. I don't even have a joke about that shit because it's just sad, right? Like, this dude was doing a national service despite how some of our listeners may feel. Damn, that's dark. That's fucked up. Rest in peace.
Man with a Florida tattoo on his forehead called emergency services for a ride home twice. And it wasn't the word Florida, it was the shape of the state.
This is the red herring, isn't it?
No, this is a real Florida story.
So this is a Florida.
This is a real Florida story.
I'm upset that you even thought to throw this in here. You just did just because he had a Florida tattoo on his face, didn't you?
And because I thought you would say it's the red herring.
Damn it. Am I that predictable? Ugh.
Man burns down house after lighting aerosol on fire to see if they were lying about it being flammable.
This sounds Russian. This sounds vaguely Russian. And no, Russian listeners, I am not saying that you guys are subpar humans of any kind. What I am saying is that vodka is a motherfucker, and only vodka, and I stand by that. I will die on that hill. Only vodka will make you do something stupid, like light your house on fucking fire, trying to prove everybody wrong.
This is fake.
Fuck you. Fuck you. You piece of shit. What is that, an Onion article?
Nope, I made that up.
Oh.
I straight up made that up.
Well, look at you. Aren't you a regular old George Orwell?
I saved the best one for last. Man trapped on Chinese reality show voted off after 3 months.
This feels Canadian.
This is Russian.
Damn it. Man, well, I mean, okay, because, yeah, China's pretty close to Russia.
I also
right?
only told you one of them was fake.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you didn't include a Canada in
I
there.
would have said that there was a Canada.
I would have said that there was
I'm not that mean.
Alright, so... Repeat the headline again.
Man trapped on Chinese reality show
These headlines
voted
are
off
so
after
wild.
3 months.
Man trapped on Chinese reality show. How the fuck do you get trapped on a reality show? That's the part that I was like fucked up on, right? Like I'm like, how the fuck did they say trapped on an island? How the fuck do you get voted off of 3 months after 3? So 3 months. That's a long fucking time to be trapped in a reality show, right? And to just be forced to participate in this shit. This isn't fake, right? You said this isn't fake because this sounds
is not
like,
fake.
This sounds like Squid
This is
Game.
not fake.
This sounds like Squid Game.
Russian man trapped on Chinese reality TV show finally voted out after 3 months. A Russian man who joined a boy band competition show
What
on
the
Chinese
fuck? Joined a boy? How do you accidentally join a boy band competition?
Let's find out. A Russian man who joined a boy band competition show on Chinese TV on a whim, but quickly regretted his decision, has finally been released from his ordeal after making it all the way to the final.
He made it all the way. That's what I said. 3 months is a long fucking time to be on a show that you accidentally got hooked into, right? Like, could you imagine being accidentally wandering onto the set of fucking American Idol and making it to the final fucking round, right before people were like, this guy doesn't belong here?
Well, Vladislav Ivanov, a 27-year-old part-time model from Vladivostok, was working on the show Produce Camp 2021 as a translator when producers reportedly noticed his good looks and asked him to sign up as a contestant.
Excuse me? What fucking ABC Family movie is this?
Ivanov told the program he had been asked if I'd like to try a new life and agreed, but quickly came to regret his decision.
No.
Unable to
No.
leave on his own will without breaching his contract and paying a fine, he instead begged viewers to send him home and deliberately performed poorly in hopes of being voted off.
You're not fooling me. This is just promo for He's All That. That's all this is. How the fuck? Excuse me, what the fuck do you mean they noticed that the translator looked dashing and the fuck? So he was just over there translating from Chinese to Russian, and they were like, the way he does that is very captivating. Sir, would you like to become a K-pop star?
Using the name Lelouch, Ivanov told viewers, "Don't love me, you'll get no results," and repeatedly pleaded with people not to vote for him.
What the fuck? So it's like,
Please don't make me go to the finals, I'm tired.
so it's like South Park, right? Where like Garrison doesn't want to be president anymore.
I hope the judges won't support me. While the others want to get an A, I want to get an F, as it stands for freedom.
And you know that the internet probably just saw that shit and was like, yeah, we're gonna get him. It's some Bodie McBoatface shit.
His pleas went unanswered, however, and he was propelled through 3 months of competition and 10 episodes, plus supplemental digital content.
How the fuck does that even happen? Right? Like, could he not legally, like, leave the competition? That's why I said this sounds like some Squid Game shit. Like,
It does.
if you leave, you die.
A fan base which had taken to his grumpy anti-celebrity persona, or were perhaps driven by Schadenfreude, urged each other to vote for him and let him 996, in reference to China's digital industry culture of chronic overwork, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. Others called him the most miserable wage slave, and celebrated him as an icon of Sang culture, a Chinese millennial concept of having a defeatist attitude towards life.
So this dude became an accidental icon.
Yup.
That is the most peak Zoomer shit I have ever heard, my nigga. Like, they literally kept this dude hostage on a fucking game show for their own amusement.
Russian media reported that Ivanov had been mobbed at Beijing airport as he left the country, defying rumors he would stay to build a modeling career.
The dude didn't want to be there in the first place. Right? They held this dude hostage for their own amusement as like a protest against the establishment. That's how far, that is like the most left-wing radical shit.
Suddenly, a real live person appeared on this show, and people started to vote for him. Partially because he stands out from the other contestants, but mainly because it's just Keck.
Exactly. They did that shit for the lulz. And honestly, you know, I'm really starting to feel like he participated in this. As much as he made it seem like he didn't want to be on the show, he thought it was funny too. And he was like, yeah, you know what, let's see how far I can go pretending like I don't want to fucking be here. Like, oh, troll culture. Shout out to troll culture. Speaking of troll culture, let's roll right on into the closer. We're not going to close out on the closer, but we are going to talk about Dave Chappelle's
After break.
final stand-up after break.
I didn't actually say my hot take earlier, and I said it before to you a long time ago. Hot Chili Peppers are the new Rolling Stones.
You're not going to like my hot take.
They have been around forever. They're still going strong. They can still perform hella well, and they have a ginormous catalog.
Okay, I see your argument, and
they can still pack stadiums with just the catalog they have now.
I see your argument, and I raise you Outkast.
You think Outkast is the new Rolling Stones?
Yes.
They're not together anymore. They can't be the new Rolling Stones.
Are the Rolling Stones still together?
Mick and
The
Keith.
ones that are still alive. So, is it not fair to say that Big Boy and Andre are like Mick and Keith?
Are they still touring?
I mean, they just did Coachella. Like, what?
Are they
was
still,
only,
like,
4
touring?
years ago. You're telling me that the Stones are
I've
still
been doing it for
touring.
70 years.
They're still
60
touring
years, yes.
consistently.
Yes!
Consistently, every year. Because, I mean, Big Boy and Andre, like I said, did just do Coachella, which I feel like is big.
Also, you really think that they have... I mean, yeah, they probably do have the... Their catalog is...
I was gonna say, boy, don't you even start.
Their catalog is...
Their catalog is fucking Aquemini, AT Aliens.
Yep.
Come on,
Yep.
man. What?
Yeah.
Stankonia.
International Underground Thunder
Come on.
Knocked off the ground.
And that's not even getting into everybody's fucking favorite, like the fucking
Speaker Box,
and
Love
Love
Below.
Below, right? And I don't even really care for those two albums particularly. But y'all not gonna sit here and pretend like that if they do the verses between Outkast and Rolling Stones, look, you
I would
about to
say-
get mad at me. You about to get mad at me. Here's where
Nope, I got one. Here's my hot take. Because I think Outkast is probably a bad comparison. Because I'm talking about, like, flat out, like, longevity forever. And they're kind of just, like, one of the bedrock pillars.
I
The
feel
hip-hop
like
equivalent of the Rolling Stones
would be the Wu-Tang Clan.
is Public Enemy.
Ooh, yeah, okay. If we're going there, right? I'm thinking versus battle, right? And I'm just like versus battle, Outkast versus the Rolling Stones, like, because first of all, I think Big Boy and Andre would totally be down for that, right? And I feel like Mick and Keith would totally be down for that. But
I feel like it really just comes down to who pulls the most bitches.
in a versus battle, what's a rock group that you think could take on a hip hop group, or even just
Limp
a
Bizkit.
singular hip hop artist, right? Okay, who would you put in Limp Bizkit in against? Because I know we've done rock groups that you would want to see in a versus battle, but what's a rock group versus like a rapper or a rap group that you would want to see?
Actually, I said Limp Bizkit as a troll. Rock groups I could actually see, like, playing, like, angry back. I could see Chevelle. Chevelle feels like... I feel like
Versus
Chevelle
who?
would take no shit.
Versus who?
I could see, like, Chevelle versus...
Damn, this one really making you think, huh? Alright, so if you had to put the Strokes up against a rapper...
Strokes would be a terrible battle band.
Oh, you think? Damn, my man said no, I would not even put the Strokes in a battle because they would get eaten alive.
No, they're too cool for it.
They're too cool for us. Okay, so...
No, like, this is how it'll go, right? So, like, the other people go, or the Strokes go first. Like, they're just sitting there after, they're like, yep, hanging out with their instruments. Hip-hop group goes. They go all over the place. Strokes don't move. They start playing the song, and then halfway through, and they're just like, what are we doing here? And they just take their shit and walk off.
So they would try to win the battle by being anti-establishment. I feel like that's a corny move.
The Who.
The Who versus who, though?
3-6 Mafia.
Wow. Okay. Damn.
Crazy rock band versus crazy hip hop group.
That would actually be pretty intense, I feel like.
Because the Who, like, destroyed instruments on stage.
Yeah, and 3-6 Mafia is almost like single-handedly...
Pete Townsend would just be like... spinning his hand all the way around Windmill on his guitar.
Dude, could you imagine hearing fucking Chicken Head played after... Because didn't the Who do Pinball Wizard?
Yeah.
Could you imagine hearing Chicken Head played after Pinball Wizard? It would fucking be great, yo. It would be such a, like, dynamic shift that, like, people's brains would scramble. It'd be like the weirdest fucking Coachella concert ever, right? Damn, yo. That'd be like hearing fucking Cardi B after Frank Sinatra, right?
Now, bands that are, like, still alive.
Yeah. So, like, if you had to put, like, Sum 41 up against a rapper in a versus battle, if you had to put My Chemical Romance up against a rapper who was also popular at that time,
I could see Green Day versus the Lox.
I'm sorry, but the Lox is eating Green Day up.
Yeah, music to get bullied by. I could see Green Day versus Dipset.
See, I feel like that those two wouldn't work though because they've already played, right? Like the whole, I feel like part of the whole, I guess, pull of verses is being reminded of all of these songs that you haven't heard in a while, right? In this person's discography. So, like, I would put, like, Green Day up against, like, a Chingy.
No, alright.
I'm sorry, yo. I know there are people, especially in the Flood chat, who were like, did you just put Green Day in a versus battle against Chingy, my nigga?
That's so disrespectful.
Doc, what are you doing?
Alright, I'm gonna try to throw some that are like era matching, alright?
Okay.
So, let's go with Guns N' Roses versus Big Daddy Kane.
Okay. I can get with that. Right. Ain't No Half Steppin' versus a little Welcome to the Jungle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's go with The Offspring versus
What era was that? Offspring.
mid-90s.
Mid-90s? So... Damn, who's big in the mid-90s? Shit, I feel like there's a lot of places I could go here. Like, Offspring versus Coolio. It's like... no.
Offspring, that's disrespectful to The Offspring.
Wow! The heat!
I did think of
Heat.
the Strokes, who the Strokes would go against.
Okay, who would the Strokes have gone
Tribe
with?
Called Quest.
Look, I'm not trying to sound biased, but I feel like, once again, the Strokes are gonna get eaten up by Tribe, dog. Like...
The vibe. They can match the vibe.
I feel like Offspring versus De La Soul then, right?
That's not a good sound matchup.
You think it's too distorting of a sound shift? Of a sonic shift?
Who would Nas go against?
That's what I was hoping you would do. Because it doesn't matter, because Nas is going to come out on top every time.
That's
It
the...
doesn't matter.
Right? Like, if I'm matching era, the only band that comes close in impact is Nirvana, right?
Nas would appreciate that.
Like, that's the only rock band I could be like, they could go... Like, they were...
Yeah, because like...
They were on the same level in their genre as Nas was in his.
Impact. That's what I'm thinking. Like, man, like just the impact.
It would be close.
Because the '90s were weird, right?
It would certainly be edged in Nas's favor, but
like Will Smith
I would
was
say
still a big rapper
Alice in
then.
Chains.
Alice in Chains. Okay, I would put them up against maybe like a Busta Rhymes, right?
Smashing Pumpkins against Busta Rhymes.
Busta, I feel like that's disrespectful to Busta Rhymes.
You don't.
yo.
Smashing Pumpkins are amazing.
Okay.
Also, they have a diverse sound.
No, okay. I was thinking of who is it? Hey Now, You're an All-Star.
Smash Mouth.
Yes, I was thinking of Smash Mouth.
No.
My bad.
No. Smashing
My
Pumpkins.
Somebody's fucking... I love how, like, weekly we make at least 10 people's heads explode. Cause
Mine
it's like,
right now. Smashing
like-
Pumpkins made my favorite song.
My man is like, how dare you confuse Smash Mouth with Smashing Pumpkins? I think out of context, it's very easy to confuse the two bands, right? Like if I was a caring dad shopping for his son, and all I remembered is that his favorite band had the word "smash" in it.
Yo.
Did I just hit on like a personal memory just now?
And somehow the dad ends up giving the kid a Wham CD.
Is that what happened? I'm so sorry.
No.
Although to say, George Michael was
My
a very
first CD
talented
was Hybrid
artist.
Theory by Linkin Park.
Damn, that's crazy.
Some of my other first early CDs were Green Mine by Dinosaur Jr., Songs for the Deaf by Queens of the Stone Age.
Shit. You had some pretty tight ones. I had like Willennium.
Well, I mean, so many people's first CD was the Hybrid Theory.
Nice and smooth best hits. Like,
Album still holds up. Still holds up.
so did you watch Dave's Closer?
I did. I watched it a couple of days ago. So,
As
it's
a
not
white
fresh
man,
in
how
my-
did you feel about it?
I definitely laughed hard at a lot of the parts.
Okay.
And, you know how I've kind of... We established a long time ago what a clear person is.
Listen, it's a man's game. And you can't play.
What if I tried really hard?
Can you keep it down? I'm trying to hit this ball.
It's because I'm white, isn't it?
No, Larry's white, so what?
Larry's not white. Larry's clear.
I kind of watched it
I think
as a
Dave
clear
would call
person.
bullshit on that, by
Huh?
the way. I said I think Dave would call bullshit on that, by the way, after watching this stand-up. Not to say that you're not in your right to make the argument to Dave, but after watching this stand-up, how did you feel?
How did I feel after watching Dave stand up? Thinking. I felt
Very,
like thinking.
he picked your brain berry, did he?
Yup.
Did he bruise it? Because I feel like he bruised a lot of people's brain berries.
Me personally, I wasn't offended.
This is
Me personally.
So, I'm about to say something, and like Dave, I want people to listen to what I'm about to say before they react. This was a psychological attack, and I say that in the most admirable way. Like, I don't think that he was intending to be malicious to an extent here, right? Like, there were clearly people who he was retaliating against.
Yeah.
I saw a tweet that was like, y'all hurt this man's feelings and he made 3 specials about cancel culture. And it's not necessarily all the way wrong,
No.
right? Because there were definitely some jokes in there that I felt like were a tad bit cringe. Dave has always kind of had like slightly cringe humor, right?
Yeah.
So let's acknowledge
He's going
that
to try. He's going to
full
try to make you
perspective.
uncomfortable.
Right. I mean, he's always tried to make you uncomfortable. That is why he paid somebody to melt a lighter on set, or melt a light, to use a lighter to melt a Snickers bar on set to make it look like shit in the corner, right? So let's not for a second forget who we're talking about
Yeah.
here when we are talking about this stand-up. Dave has always been a crude humor comedian, but I do feel like this is like grandmaster level, and excuse me if it sounds like I'm like, you know, sucking this nigga dick
Yeah.
or whatever, no homo, but I do feel like this is like grandmaster level trolling here, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's keep it a band. What this nigga did was satire to its like pinnacle.
It was almost like
The fact that he kept, like, one of the things that I focused in on was the fact that he kept harping back to, but I'm transphobic, remember? Like, this stand-up, this last round here,
I felt like, so the name The Closer is the perfect analogy for, or the perfect wording for the analogy I'm going to use. It's like Mariano Rivera, the old closer for the New York Yankees.
okay.
He threw one pitch his entire career. Split finger cut it. One pitch. Only pitch he ever threw. You know it's coming, you still cannot hit it. You know what Dave's gonna say, but you're still shocked by it.
I didn't know what he was gonna say. I actually kind of hoped. I went
You know what
into
I
this.
like, he's always gonna be like Dave, but you're always gonna be left
I get
wondering.
what you're saying. But what I'm saying is I went into this kind of hoping that he was going to leave, like, the LGBTQ stuff alone, right? Because I do feel like he feels that it is harmful to his brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also get the idea as a comedian, right? Like, as looking at it from the perspective of a comedian the stature of Dave Chappelle, it becomes a challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
To make it funny, right?
Yeah.
No matter how necessarily it's not a matter of should we have done it, it's can we do it?
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
But in Dave's defense, I definitely feel like he should.
Yeah.
Because as I
He's
said,
one of the few that can push the boundaries. He's one of the only people who's ever truly beaten the system.
I feel like, but Dave, to me, in my opinion, I feel like Dave perfectly demonstrated why he can do that. Because he does it from a place of empathy. Dave does not go up on stage to make harmful jokes. Dave finds things funny, so he makes jokes about them.
Yeah.
Right? That's the difference between Dave and a lot of other crude comedians that he came up with.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think where Dave got offended was the fact that that was misconstrued.
Yeah.
Right? Like he was trying to be harmful and hateful. And he's like, no, bitch, I'm a comedian.
Yeah. I tell jokes for a living.
Like, I found something funny about this, so I wrote a joke about it. I'm sorry, you didn't find it funny, but I'm not saying that the trans experience isn't real, right? Like, I'm saying that I can be a TERF and still accept that the trans experience is real, is what Dave was saying. And that's hard to cut through in the middle of a fucking comedy show, right? And the initial impact of the statements that Dave made are going to be, it's going to take a long time for people to, and I don't know if people are ever actually going to care to really dissect what Dave was trying to say here, right? But Dave demonstrated perfectly how to have a controversial opinion in a post-PC world.
So, I wanted to pick up on my closer analogy.
Go ahead.
You remember his first stand-up special on Netflix?
Which one was that called?
Where he's like, I walk into my house and I write a punchline and I just throw it into a fishbowl. And then I grab one out and I write a joke. And I pulled this one out. And it's, so I kicked her in the pussy. And he does like 5 to 7 minutes before he then hits it. He told you the pitch is coming.
The entire time. He said this shit is gonna get worse, right? This was Dave. Okay, so here's where one thing I think people are really missing, right? Like, it feels like this is an assault on PC culture, but I really think that it's the opposite. I think this is Dave's assault on all of those comedians who are claiming they can't get away with telling their jokes because of PC culture, right? Like, Dave went up on stage and told how many Jew jokes?
A lot.
And people are still coming at him, right? Everybody's gonna write their dissertations or shit like that, right? Like, everybody's getting a meal off of the shit that Dave said, right? But like Dave said, Twitter ain't real, right? The only, but, as Dave also pointed out, you can really get canceled out this bitch. And a lot of your favorite controversial celebrities haven't really been canceled the way that they canceled DaBaby. If you want to see somebody really get canceled, that nigga may actually be one of the first real examples of somebody getting canceled. Son.
What did DaBaby do?
I mean, you know, he went up on stage and said a bunch of very hateful and regressive rhetoric towards the homosexual and LGBTQ community.
Oh, he was rapping DMX lyrics?
But I think that Dave also addressed some very important points that get kind of swept under the rug in the rise of social justice culture, right? And
The overcorrecting that we always talk about?
well, it's overcorrecting that kind of sweeps under the rug some very nuanced arguments that need to be ironed out, right? Like when he talked about Sojourner Douglas and her impact in the feminist movement and how she was kind of like ostracized from the movement because she was also still preaching, you know, like black equality and black rights at that time, and gay men will like code switch when the time comes relevant for them to use their privilege, and you know how the gay community has had such success off of, you know, a lot of borrowing a lot
What did
from
he say?
others.
He's like, you're gay until you need to be white?
Well, yeah, I mean, that is one thing that he did say, and it's something that I don't feel like needs to be ignored either, right? Like, when we are doing, but I also feel like that is, so this hits on to a whole nother tangent, right, that I don't have time to go into, but I'm gonna hit for just a second because I feel like it's very important. The left has so much fucking infighting, right, that it is it's one of the main reasons why it has been so hard to topple the far right conservative movement in this country, right? Because they have uniformity like nobody fucking believes. Them niggas is Voltron, right? The second white supremacy needs to fall in line, you best believe they will fall in line, and you will have neo-Nazis with KKK members, with Christian fundamentalists, with Q supporters and shit like that, all because they want to get Donald Trump fucking elected, right? Because fuck Hillary Clinton, right? But like the left couldn't even fucking, as much as we agreed with like Bernie's fucking rhetoric and shit like that, and as much as we agreed that fucking Joe Biden probably wasn't the best president, we still couldn't get our shit together long enough to like topple the establishment in favor of fucking Bernie Sanders or even Elizabeth Warren or like fucking even Pete Buttigieg, right? Like the fuck, like no, we ended up with Joe Biden anyway, and who we can all agree was probably like 5th on the list of people that the US millennial population actually wanted as fucking president. The infighting is part of the reason why I think we have such a hard time at actually forming like left wing. I saw I think it was like a Second Thought video on YouTube that proposed the idea that there is actually no left-wing party in the United States. That the Democratic Party is just a centrist right party, and the right-wing party is more like a far-right party, or if we're being nice, like a conservative party, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think part of the reason of that is because we can't, like, all the identity politics and shit, like, causes so much disruption. And
that was one of Dave's major points.
Yeah, and yes, I mean, and to his argument, he did make that point. That we do get caught up in identity, and a lot of the shit isn't handled the way that it should be handled, and that it used to be handled when real activism was done. But people get, and I'm not saying that there isn't real activism being done right now, but those people, we don't know their names. They're not the celebrities that we talk about. Instead, we talk about celebrities, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, continuing to talk about the celebrity, I think that this will be Dave's last stand-up. And as I was telling you, and he said it for the most part, it is going to be his last stand-up, and he's done talking about the LGBTQ community after this, because he said all he can say at this point, right? I do feel like, in a little bit of pushback his as endearing as his story about Daphne was, I do, to a point, feel like it was a little bit, I have a trans friend. That's not to belittle his experience with this trans person, right?
Yeah.
Like, I do feel like he knows good and well that some of his talking points will be misinterpreted. Right?
I'm sure he
And
knows that with every special he does.
I guess plays into a lot of people's fear that his language is dangerous. But in Dave's defense, I think he made it also very clear that if you watch through to the end, right, and don't get triggered and tune away, that he is really asking people to listen to what he is saying and think about what he's doing up here. He doesn't just do it, even though this shit is for shits and giggles, he's not just up there for shits and giggles, right?
Yeah.
Like, he says several times, like, I'm asking serious questions, right? Like, I want to have serious discussions here, but in a jokey, haha kind of way.
Yeah, like, I've heard a couple of people talk about it, and it's more just like, at this point, he's a social commentator with laughs.
He's doing his Mark Twain shit. He's doing his George Carlin shit.
Yeah.
A lot of people have said that already. Because he is that seasoned of a comedian, and we currently are in that kind of a climate, right? Like,
I think
where
there's one other person who could do this type of comedy. Jon Stewart.
yes, but I don't know if John could get away with the trans thing like Dave gets away.
No, but I
Like-
mean like this type of like oratory, social commentary comedy.
Yeah.
Like long form type of
Yeah,
thing like
no,
this.
I agree
yeah.
with it. I agree with it.
I think John's probably the only one who could do it, besides Chappelle.
Yeah, and his approach, I feel like, would be different from Chappelle's in the fact that it would be less crude, but still somehow just as absurd. Dave, I feel like...
And just as controversial, but won't be as taken as controversially.
No, because everything black people do is more controversial than their white counterparts. I do feel like Dave, however, is still one of the only comedians, and if not the only comedian, because this would have canceled, like I said, Jon Stewart, Trevor Noah, Joe Rogan could never. You know, Joe Rogan could never do this, and I'm sure Joe Rogan will admit that he could never approach this shit the way Dave approached it, right? And I still say that because I feel like Dave really did approach this from a place of empathy.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not just saying that because he said it, but I feel like I felt that way from the beginning. A lot of what he was saying did seem sincere to a degree.
Yeah.
Right? Like, even though it's all performance art, like, it still seemed like there was a point behind all of the perspective that he was putting forward. It didn't feel like it was all performance art, right? Like, it still felt like there was a point to the perspective that he was putting forward.
Yeah.
I just feel like, you know, because he's covering such heavy material, right? Such a heavy subject matter, obviously there's gonna be some pushback to what he's talking about. But I still feel like what he did, despite the hits and misses in the actual material, right? Because I'd still argue that some of the jokes just weren't funny.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. I feel like he perfectly demonstrated how to tell jokes about touchy subjects in today's day and age without being a total fucking asshole about it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, acknowledging that everybody is having a human experience, and part of having a human experience is having funny shit happen to you, right?
Yeah.
Or being funny, right? Like,
Yep. Everybody's fallen. Everybody's walked into something.
everybody's falling off of something,
Yep.
right? Like, sometimes people do funny shit in moments where they're not trying to be funny.
Yep.
And that's what makes life special, right? That's what makes Curb Your Enthusiasm special, right? Like,
And a lot of good TikToks.
because, like, exactly. Life is just fucking hilarious. Some of the funniest shit is unscripted in IRL.
Kids say the darndest things.
And sometimes people coming up to you because you're famous and you said a few off-kilter things about trans people do fucking hilarious shit to try and make you feel bad, right?
Yeah.
Was his point.
There's a lot to unpack with Chappelle with this special, but honestly, I'll need to watch it again to really be able to, because it was a lot. It was a lot.
I mean, it was, but he perfectly walked you through it, I feel like, man. Like, even at the end, when he was like, I haven't been saying anything about trans people this entire time. I've been talking about white people, right? Like, I was like, he's not wrong. If you really were listening to what he was saying, you would understand that he's been
saying this shit since Chip.
He's been talking to white people the entire fucking time.
Yep.
Ah, man, it was great though. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I enjoyed it even though I felt like some of the jokes were misses, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and not even from like offensive, just like not executed as that great.
Right, and that could have just been off to the night that shit got recorded, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe that shit killed everywhere else he did it except for that night. I still thought it was good. I still think it's worth a watch, at least for the discussion that's being had, right? If the right discussion was being had. Because the media, once again, is turning this into a discussion of, like, morality versus subject matter.
Yeah, because at this point, Chappelle specials are no longer just, like, stand-up specials. They're more like cultural touchstones.
But we still keep approaching it from, I guess, like a mob mentality instead of like a collegiate mentality, which is what Dave is asking for his crude humor, which is ironic in itself, right? But it's still worth it because of the way that he approached it. So I do think like a lot of the think pieces and, like, you know, the roastings that are going on Twitter are undeserved in the fact that I feel like a lot of those people didn't watch the stand-up special through its entirety.
Yep.
You know, they watched the clips that came out, like, Dave Chappelle says, don't abort the baby. And everybody is like, oh, great. What? No, I argue that if you are even spending time, like, writing or going to respond to this shit, that you actually watch the shit first.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't say that shit about a lot of stuff, right? Like, you know, I know I tend to play favorites towards certain things, but it's because I feel like those things are often misunderstood in the way that they are represented, because a lot of our representation of things isn't accurate. So,
yup,
take that into consideration. Bam! New segment. Take this into consideration. There's a better title for that. We'll work on it. After this break.
Listeners who didn't wish to hear about such things should turn off their radios.
Do that.
I can edit it all out. I mean, my family thing is...
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, I'm not gonna say her mom is a QAnon supporter, but she might be, like, borderline QAnon supporter.
Yeah.
Like, QAnon enabler.
Yeah, it's not fun having to, like, navigate that.
I would say your mom is, like, a QAnon enabler. She's not a QAnon supporter, but she's, like, right there in the fringe group that...
She's probably a supporter, just does... Remember that Vice article? She's one of those QAnon supporters who wouldn't say, oh, I'm not QAnon.
In the same way that Donald Trump's dad wasn't a KKK member, he was just on their donor rolls.
Yep.
Do you think your mom has bought a book from a QAnon writer?
Probably.
Damn.
Like, she'll buy books and, like, the back will have, like, a review.
A review.
and a barcode. No, like, publishing information or multiple reviews or, like, a synopsis. Just, like, a review and a barcode.
It's getting serious.
And the cover will have, like, a cross on it. And I'm like, well...
Fuck.
I told you about the Bible bomb, right?
Oh, the, like, gift package that she left for y'all?
Yeah, the
with,
Catholic
like...
crisis box.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, when I was watching her, like, when I've heard her, like, doing the rosary at her computer, and it just made me think, I was like, I don't understand faith based in fatalism and fear.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things that always bothered me about that, like, the Scarlet Letter period. Like, what, God, this is the Thomas Paine era or whatever the fuck it was. The Calvinistic shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Reformation, and not the Reformation, but yeah, the Calvinistic period, the fire and brimstone. Like, you're all sinners, you're all going to hell. The only way to maybe make it to heaven is if you live the most boring life possible. Well, what would make you think that people wouldn't eventually, like, venture off into... And I guess that's their point.
It's like Rammspringer.
Everything is sin. The only thing that is holy is work. And it's no wonder that kind of mentality led people to believe that slavery was fucking okay. Right? Like, I'm sorry. Like, if that's what your faith is, then I have a problem.
And I just don't get it. Like, I showed you this article, and it was by a priest teaching at American University.
So when you say this article, let our listeners know, because,
So
you know,
it's-
we are not on camera at the moment.
Then my dad shared by Adam A.G. DeVille. And
Shout out to Adam A.G. DeVille.
is teaching a class, and he was showing that they were doing a gift exchange.
Okay.
And he was like, well, we're going to be doing this gift exchange with non-Christians as well. And the class basically clutching their pearls like,
Really?
And as a student, one of the students said, as a Catholic, I don't see why I should have to read the works of anybody who doesn't have the letters ST in front of their names.
Saying that if it's not sanctified, then it's not canon.
Pretty much. Saying how it actually is... After Nicaea, all the wise thinkers of Christian tradition have recognized that demonization and dismissal of opponents are un-Catholic activities. Discernment and dialogue are quintessentially Catholic methods.
So that was the argument that the professor was making.
Yeah. Thomas Aquinas was a man who read lavishly, quoted non-English writers. He did so as proof just how Christian he is, of just how Catholic his intellectual methods are, for to be a Catholic is to be seeking after the good wherever it is found.
See, what other podcast are you going to find a discussion of Dave Chappelle and Thomas Aquinas in the same fucking, like,
That
hour?
is Saint Thomas Aquinas.
Excuse me, all I'm saying is, look no further. Like, be not baffled. We are here to lead you into the light. Anyway, what college was this?
American University.
American University. And what was the professor's name?
Adam A.J. DeVille.
Oh, okay, so he's the same dude that wrote the article.
Yes.
Editorial, I guess.
They were talking about this metaphor of the despoiling of the Egyptians. If those who are called philosophers, and especially the Platonists, have said aught that is true and in harmony with our faith, we are not only not to shrink from it, but to claim it for our own use from those who have unlawful possession for it. For as Egyptians had not only the idols and heavy burdens which the people of Israel hated and fled from, but also vessels and ornaments of gold and silver and garments, which the same people, when going out of Egypt, appropriated to themselves, designing them for a better use, not doing this on their own authority, but by the command of God, the Egyptians themselves, in their ignorance, providing them with things which they themselves were not making a good use of. In the same way, all branches of heathen learning have not only false and superstitious fancies and heavy burdens of unnecessary toil, which every one of us, when going out of the leadership of Christ with the fellowship of the heathen, ought to abhor and avoid, but they contain also liberal instruction, which is better adapted to use of the truth and some most excellent precepts of morality. And some truths in regard even to the worship of one God are found among them. That was all one sentence.
Wow. And it was a sentence packed with so much Catholic propaganda that it was essentially hard for me to even like pay attention to at a point, right? But at the end, I like how he tied it up by saying that even with acknowledging like Egyptian appropriation or the appropriation of Egyptian idolatry for
like they're literal shit.
For what he like
the Jews ran from Egypt with Egyptian shit.
Well, not
and God was like, take their shit.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I meant by Christian or the Catholic propaganda, right? Aspect, right? But even acknowledging that, right? He still tied it up by saying like, but let us not be so conservative in this fact that we can't like acknowledge that liberal morals of equality and equal representation are good, because if it wasn't for the equal representation, then we wouldn't be allowed to, you know, appropriate Egyptian culture the fucking way we did to grandiose God in the same way that made, you know, it the brand that it is now, or Catholicism the brand that it is now.
But the despoiling of Egyptians means both that one takes what is good and that one leaves behind what is not.
I'm trying to remember why we were talking about this. Pause it and run it back. Cool in reference to
Okay, so we brought it up, the article, in reference to my mom, because because it's really frustrating because she's doing exactly the opposite of what the faith she's so fatalistically and fearfully devoted to is even supposed to be doing.
So what you're saying is, even through all the Catholic propaganda, right, at the end of it, this professor is proclaiming that Catholicism should still approach humanity and human rights and equality from a liberal perspective.
Yeah.
Right.
And listen to other people's ideas.
Right. And, you know, take from them
take what is good and leave what is not.
Yeah. I have an issue in the frame of perspective that is being presented.
Yeah, it kind of seems really raidery.
Yeah, but that's not, you know, like I said, we don't have time to break down Catholic imperialism in today's episode.
No.
And how that affects, you know, Christian fundamentalism as a whole. But with that being said, I do feel like, you know, even in reference to like the whole Dave Chappelle thing, this I feel like is more akin to like, you know, the PC culture argument and being afraid to talk about controversial subject matter.
This is not fear, this is rejection
of controversial subject matter, right?
Not even controversial, just different.
I feel like at its core, that is what is controversial, right? Is the fact that it is different. It's not what we are akin to, it's not what we're accustomed to, and it is not what is readily accepted in culture, right? Like, and let's not forget that it was only, 2012 that homosexuality and homosexual marriage was like legalized nationwide, right?
Yeah.
Like that was in Barack Obama's presidency.
Yep.
Right? There are still sundown towns in the United States.
A lot of them in Missouri.
And there's quite a few of them in Maryland, right? Which is by DC, which is the capital of the country, which is supposed to have a democratic, liberalish president at hand right now, right? You know, and Donald Trump's presidency kind of like exposed the festering underbelly that was prejudice in America.
Yup.
It never went away. It was just swept under the rug.
It's the astronaut meme. Wait, America's racist? Always has been.
honestly, right? Like the whole George Floyd incident really did force America to decide whether or not it was going to acknowledge the prejudice that was festering in its underbelly.
Mm-hmm.
And we still really haven't, right? Because we are in a place where the gay community can get the baby canceled while not acknowledging its own racism and racist past and racist heritage. You know what I mean? It's complicated, and it's never not going to be complicated, right? And here in America especially, I feel like, as well as across the globe, we like simple answers, right? And until we get a simple answer for this, everybody's exhausted, especially from the current issue at hand. We still can't get people vaccinated, you know? Like, we literally can't even agree on a solution to a problem that people can't agree is a real problem. We can't get people to agree that this is even a real fucking problem. So how the fuck are we supposed to solve racism if we can't even solve a fucking sickness? You know what I mean? How? I feel like that's kind of like one of the questions that Dave is proposing. Like, how the fuck are we supposed to have these conversations when we can't even agree on what is a real fucking conversation? Well, guys, bye!
Bye! Urban Meyer, don't grind on chicks in your own bar. Weird.
Look, it's a flood. It's flood. It's flooding.
Get away.
Quick, we need to get to higher ground.
Open the floodgates.
Wait, why can't we talk about Black Sabbath?